André, who's your person?
The movie director, Eric Romer. There is absolutely no plot in Eric Romer's films, nothing but an extended conversation. And I loved the fact that he had the courage to have people talk to each other. This director has a way of basically boring into the things that matter most to us and which we know about all the time, but we don't really talk about them, or we don't want to talk about them. This is what I found out about writers. They write about something and everybody else remembers it as well, even though they've never remembered it. But that's the genius. That's what Eric Romer does for me. He basically makes me think that I've experienced this fantastic philosophie in the boudoir, which happens in My Night at Maud, as if it happened to me.
Do you think he's giving you an artificial memory or drawing something out of you, a memory that already exists?
Well, it's because the braid of memory and this other thing which we call desire are so tied into each other in this kind of weird limbic system that we have, that we can't sort them out. You don't know if you're remembering or imagining or desiring.
Where is your place?
The place that I would consider to be sort of the hub of my intellectual identity, which is really Strauss Park, which is on 106th Street and Broadway. And I've written quite a bit about Strauss Park, so it feels very home to me for a very special reason, because in my mind, and in my mind only, it doesn't belong in New York. It was a place that reminded me of France and basically almost sort of gave me a form of solace that I was closer to home than I thought I was, even though France has never been my home and will never be my home.
What's your thing?
I decided to pick a painting by Monet. It reminded me of a house that I used to have when I was a child at the beach, when I was growing up in Egypt. Of course, the house didn't look anything like it, but it evoked something of what that house was. And I loved that house, and I loved being at the beach. In looking at this house, I decided I was going to basically write about it. I was going to people it with some individuals. And sure enough, it was a nice family, and eventually a guest arrives, and the guest sort of helps the father, who's a professor. And sure enough, then the next thing you know is the boy in the family falls in love with the guest. And sure enough, for those of you who haven't figured it out yet, okay, it is this whole story of Call Me By Your Name.
I'm curious as to how you came to trust Merchant Ivory and the director to take your work and put it on the screen.
I said, how are you going to end the movie? He said, we're going to end it with the character Elio sort of looking into a fireplace and beginning to tear up. And I'm going, oh my God, this is terrible. This is not going to work at all. And eventually I did see the movie. And the last scene, I was so moved by it that I told the director, you ended the movie better than I could have written the book.